cold, wet, tight, and ugly. Good thing it's dark. From amongst our very own ranks, a cave diver who daylights as a business controls advisor. She enjoys applying her unique perspective on risk tolerance to our business. Please welcome our first speaker, Kathleen Graham.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, so there's a first aid kit at Camp 2. You might have some supplies to wrap it.
Jeez.
So deep in the don't screw up zone, I screwed up. That is actual footage of me breaking my leg this past November. It was the second day of an expedition I had planned for 2 years, but my team looked trashed and we were behind schedule. So I was going to carry more weight faster and get us back on track. And there was 2 guys in my way filming, so I went around them onto this unstable slope, and the rocks start moving, and I tried to regain my footing, but I went over the edge. I had 55 pounds on my back when I landed, and in a moment, I went from trying to be a hero to being the weakest link. It's humbling. I'm a business controls advisor here, and sorry. But on the weekends, I am a caver. Why do I cave? Today, when you can sit on the computer and scan Google Earth and find impact craters in the Arctic, it is amazing to me that we probably know less than 10% of the passages that run underneath this Earth. And I can go out any weekend and be where no man has gone before. So my team has found new species of isopods. This is a microbial mat near Golden that we swabbed. We found 5 new bacteria that are fighting multi-drug resistant staph, and we're now in feasibility studies trying to find a new antibiotic. We also, NASA is also interested in these microbes, and because they want to look at things that can live off hardly anything in cold, dark places as they prepare to look for life on the craters of the moon and pits on Mars. Oh, that's me. Caves are also natural reservoirs. So as glaciers are receding, and we want to understand how our waterways will be impacted, wouldn't it be good to know the capacity and turnover rates of these natural cisterns? I'm part of the Glacier Cave Explorers team, so it's an international multidisciplinary team looking at fumarole ice caves. So you have a volcano with a glacier on top, and then the glacial melt goes down into the hot zone and rises back up and melts out these caves. So we are studying the temperature, the chemistry, to understand what is going on down below and then how that impacts up above. Mount St. Helens is one of those fumarole ice caves, and it's particularly interesting to microbiologists because it's been 40 years since that eruption, and so they can use that as a proxy for an extinction event. And 40 years later, rocks are becoming soil right around the steam event, so we're preparing to test evolutionary theory. The NASA Jet Propulsion Lab is also testing ice climbing robots. So this guy is crawling up the wall, and then he's taking core samples of the ice, and then that will scan and look for the chemistry and organics and other particulates. Because if we can get to Europa and Enceladus, so the moons of Jupiter, and we can look at the ice, we only expect to get the data back. We won't get the samples. So this team comprises of engineers, programmers, hazmat specialists. There is a volcanologist, a photographer, a competition drone pilot, a medical doctor, and then there's two cave surveyors. One is a controls advisor at Imperial, and one is a safety advisor at Encana. We do morning meetings and evening debriefs every day. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. The weather changes, equipment malfunctions. We try to keep everybody on the same page. There's a lot of repeating what was said the day before, and the pace is generally slower than I would like it to be, but we accomplish what we need to get done, and I learn a lot from being with these people. But I don't really feel like we're a team when we land off the mountain until this year. So there's 3 of us going into the main cave, and it's a steep, rocky slope. So I was in the front, Jessica's close behind me, so that if rocks start rolling, it can't gain momentum before it hits me. And then Mark was further behind, so he went far to the left. And we heard this yell. And we look back, and this minivan-sized rock starts tilting, and it clips Mark in the shoulder, and then both of them are rolling down the hill, and Mark flies by like a rag doll, hits his back, does a somersault, lands in a heap, and that huge rock is rolling the whole way down, and then boom, into the wall. So we're trying to go down to him, and we're bracing for the worst, and we get down to him, and he only has bruises and scrapes, and we didn't talk about how bad it could have been. We did our minimum that day and went back. But I guess Mark reflected on a few things, because the next night, overlooking the sunset of Washington State, he proposes to Jessica. And our whole team is like standing by the tent, sort of cheering them on. So it was a really special night back at the tent when we were all back together. So there's sort of that adversity event, and then there was a personal celebration that we could all come together on. And I do have to point out the coolest engagement ring ever, because Mark braided and soldered wire out of the ice climbing robot spare parts kit to make that. Now, another team more near and dear to my heart is the Bizarro Project. We found this cave in 2012, and a group of us has been exploring it ever since. It's on a high mountain plateau near Fernie. We access it with helicopters, just because of all the gear that we need to bring with us. It was starting to take over 8 hours to commute to the site of exploration, so we started camping inside the cave. So that means we've got hammocks because the floor is so rocky. We have to haul in our sleeping bags, all of our food, and then all of the ropes and hammer drills and bolts to be able to do what we need to do. It's 3 degrees humidity. It's not really that much fun living in a refrigerator. It becomes a huge logistical task. So on the left is pretty standard Sufferfest, just moving bags. And on the right is, so the one guy is on rope with 3 bags hanging off his harness. I'm at the top, we're getting ready to put my 3 bags on. The cave went deeper and deeper, and then we came to this sump, so a pool trapped midway in the mountain, and the only way on that we can see is underneath the water. So that's as far as we could go that trip. And so in typical caver fashion, we get off the mountain, we go to the pub, we type our data into the computer.
Cancaver.ca, because I don't actually know what heavy breathing is.
Oh, but you now know what Bizarro is? It's not
She's like trying to telling first.
How deep is heavy breather?
Oh, I don't actually know that. Heavy breather is, oh my god. 655. 655, and we are at 654. 654. Somebody had grabbed Katie by the ankles and just like dipped her into the water. You could have like.
Because we didn't want to have it wash away.
Yeah.
What? You put it down in the water?
No, yeah.
It's like this high up.
Oh my god.
So,
No, that.
So in case you missed that, so we came out of the cave and we were half a meter off the deepest cave in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So that just would not do. So 2 months later, 9 of us, 700 pounds of gear, we were going back. And the primary objective was to put me into the sump and see what was down below. And I managed to do that. I did a 15-meter dive and achieved the deepest cave in Canada. Woo. The funny thing is, I was really disappointed with that dive. I was getting kitted up at the edge, and I realized that one of the scuba tanks was totally empty. And the first rule of cave diving is redundancy. You have 2 of everything, because if anything malfunctions, it could be dire. So there I am at the edge, and it wasn't like that tank just got like turned on and off. It was that the whole valve stem got twisted out of the tank. So someone smashed that pretty violently, and you're like, someone must have heard something, maybe noticed the tank get lighter, but placing blame doesn't get you anywhere. I'm at the edge, what am I gonna do now? So I just surveyed sort of the lake section. I can see the cave goes on, it's meter by meter passage, but I couldn't go into that confined space or that overhead zone that day. It'll have to wait, and I would have to figure out a better way to protect my valves. Expedition caving is something where you really need to carry your own weight. If you're not carrying your portion of the team gear, then someone else has to carry it. And as a woman, I've always been really conscientious of that. It makes me train harder, it drives my work ethic. As a cave diver, there's just so much gear that I have to ask for help, but I think I should be hauling twice as much as I ask anyone else to help. And when I'm planning this kind of trip, I'm really hyper aware that people are paying for a helicopter, they are spending their vacation to help me haul my stuff. So I need to show them respect by making sure that they get to do some exploration. We say, get some booty. I need to make sure they're practicing new skills. I need to make sure they're having fun. I need to make sure that nobody feels like they drew the short straw. So the trip in 2012, oh my gosh. November 2019, I planned for 2 years to do this dive, and on the way down is back to the beginning where I break my leg. The game's over for me, but the team just rallied around me. It took me 3 days to crawl out of the cave. There was always 2 people with me. They were trying to haul my bags for me. And then once, it's not really a life-threatening injury, so once I was taken care of, there's no reason to leave early, so they got to go back and try and make something so that the whole trip wasn't a giant write-off. So 2019 did not go as I planned, yet 2020, everyone wants to come back and do it again. So I am learning to appreciate the small wins along the way. I'm learning to appreciate the struggle because it makes the dream sweeter. And I'm learning to show gratitude to my team that makes it happen. And hell, we have some fun too. It's still alive! He didn't pop! We can do it again! So they gave me the first Lavadu Poo Descent Award.
That was excellent.
Great job. Great job.